"It's been 5 years, Mama. Why won't this baby come out?" I screamed, clutching my swollen belly. My mother-in-law, Chini, stirred the soup in front of her, barely looking up. Her calmness was maddening. "Be patient, Amina. God's time is the best," she said. "But 5 years? 5 long years of carrying a pregnancy that never ended?" When I married Keen, people envied me. He was handsome, kind-hearted, and the pride of his family. His mother welcomed me warmly, showering me with prayers and gifts. Life seemed perfect. A year into our marriage, I got pregnant, and the joy in our home was immeasurable. My husband walked around announcing, "Our baby is coming." He'd rub my belly every night, thanking God for the blessing. But by the second year, the baby hadn't come. Gossip started in the village. Women would glance at me and murmur, their voices filled with pity. By the third year, Kane's patience started to wear thin. His excitement faded, replaced with concern. "Amina, maybe we should go to the hospital in the city," he said hesitantly one evening. Chini cut him off sharply. "Hospital? What do doctors know? This is not a sickness. It's spiritual, and I know how to handle it." Her words silenced Keen. He always listened to his mother. Chini became my savior. She took control of everything. She took me to her prayer group every week. They laid hands on me, poured oil on my stomach, and shouted prayers. When that didn't work, she took me to a native doctor deep in the forest. He gave me bitter herbs to drink and tied red cloths around my wrists. "The child is coming soon," he said. "Very soon," he declared confidently. But nothing changed. By the fourth year, I could barely leave the house. My swollen stomach made it difficult to move, and the villagers' stares were unbearable. Kini avoided me more and more. He'd sit outside for hours, refusing to look me in the eye. One night, as I lay in bed unable to sleep, I overheard a conversation between Keen and his mother. "Mama, this is not normal," Kini said, his voice low but firm. 5 years of pregnancy? Who has ever heard of such a thing?" "Patience, my son," Chini replied smoothly. "These things take time. God's plan is never rushed." "What if something is wrong with Amina?" "Nothing is wrong with her. This is a spiritual matter, and I am handling it. Do not bring shame to our family by talking about this outside." I lay there, tears streaming down my face. Was I broken? Was something really wrong with me? A few months later, I decided I couldn't take it anymore. "Kine, I'm going to the hospital, with or without you," I said firmly. Chini's reaction was swift and cold. "You will not go," she declared. "Do you know how many women die in those hospitals? Do you want to kill yourself and the child?" I didn't respond. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. A few months later, a neighbor came to visit me. Her name was Neka, and she was known for being a troublemaker in the village. But that day, her face was serious. "Amina, I need to tell you something," she said, her voice low and urgent. "What is it?" "It's about your mother-in-law. I think she's behind all of this." My heart raced. "What are you talking about?" "I've heard things. Chini hated you from the start because of your tribe. She wanted Keen to marry someone else, one of her church members. But he refused and chose you instead. People say she went to a native doctor before your wedding. She wanted to make sure you would never have children." Her words hit me like a thunderbolt. That's not true. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Chini had always treated me with kindness. How could she do something so cruel? My heart stopped. "What are you talking about?" I asked, my voice shaking. "She didn't want her son to marry you, Amina. She wanted him to marry someone from her own tribe. But when he chose you, she couldn't bear it. So, she did something to you, to make sure you'd never have children. I believe she put a curse on you, or worse." I pushed her away, refusing to believe it. "No, she's been helping me all these years. She's been praying for me." "That's nonsense," I said, shaking my head. "Chini has been helping me all these years. Mama has always been kind to me." Neka shook her head. "Kind? Think about it, Amina. 5 years of pregnancy? Does that sound normal to you? And every time Kane suggested going to the hospital, who stopped him?" I felt sick. Could Chini really be capable of such evil? That night, I decided to confront her. "Mama," I said, my voice trembling, "did you do something to me? Did you curse me?" Chini's eyes narrowed. "What nonsense are you talking about? Why would I do such?" I felt my stomach churn. Could it be true? "Mama, please, if you did something, undo it. I'm begging you." She sighed heavily, then said, "Amina, you are tired and confused. Go and rest." But I couldn't rest. I couldn't eat. I couldn't think. I left the house, my heart heavy with unanswered questions. I was desperate. I couldn't live like this any longer. The next day, I packed my things and left for my aunt's house in the city. My parents had passed away years ago, and I was the only child, so my aunt was the closest person I could turn to. When she saw me, her face filled with shock and anger. "Amina, why didn't you come to me earlier? 5 years of pregnancy? That's not normal." She immediately took me to the hospital. The doctor ran tests and scans, his expression growing more serious with each result. Finally, he sat me down. "Amina, there is no baby," he said gently. I stared at him, confused. "What do you mean? I feel the baby kicking inside me. I've carried this pregnancy for 5 years. What you're feeling is not a baby, it's a fibroid, a very large growth in your womb. It's dangerous and has been pressing on your organs for years. You need surgery immediately." The news shattered me. How could this be? The surgery was successful. When I woke up, the doctor showed me what they had removed. It was a massive, fleshy mass, not a baby. "How could this happen?" I asked. The doctor hesitated. "It's hard to say, but fibroids like this don't grow overnight. Someone must have noticed something was wrong early on." My aunt was furious. "Amina, you have to confront that woman. I've always known Chini was up to no good." I returned to the village 2 weeks later, determined to get answers. But before I could confront Chini, the village was in chaos. Chini had died suddenly. People said she collapsed in her kitchen, clutching a small clay pot. The pot shattered on the ground, and within minutes, she was gone. Some villagers whispered that the pot held the curse she had placed on me and that breaking it had backfired on her. Others said it was just a coincidence. Keen was devastated by his mother's death, and for a while I didn't know how to feel. Relief? Anger? Sadness? In the end, I decided to leave the village. I couldn't stay in a place filled with so much pain. It's been 3 years since then. I've moved to another town and started a new life. I don't talk about what happened, but sometimes, late at night, I wonder, how could someone so loving and devoted to her son do something so cruel? I may never know the answer, but one thing is certain. I will never trust anyone blindly again. Trust is a fragile thing, and even those who seem kind can have dark intentions.